What's going on, guys? My name is Striveforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD mobile video. So today is going to be kind of important because in about a week or so, or maybe even less, the meta is going to shift pretty heavily, at least in terms of assault rifles, because I know as of right now, the KSP is kind of the one that just reigns supreme because of its high damage and range. And I've been hearing a lot of complaints about it on ranked, and even Bobby Plays himself has said like a lot of has had his own fair share of complaints. He shared a video where you could like literally four-shot people across the map in, I believe, Crossfire. So yeah, the KSP is kind of reigning supreme right now, at least in ranked. But in terms of assault rifles, everything seems to be, I mean, in order. There's, every assault rifle seems to have a chance at competing against one another. But I think it's about to change when the BRANSON barrel comes out for the ASM-10. It's not really guaranteed to go against the KSP. Maybe it will at long range, but I've been thinking about it for a while because right now we're kind of like in a peaceful moment, but I feel like all of that's going to change that moment that one attachment comes out, or even the legendary itself. The date as to when it's going to release, the game does say it's going to release on the 18th, but Leakers on Duty has something that conflicts with that date because they said that the legendary skin for the ASM-10 is going to release this Thursday, or I guess Friday, depending on where you're at. So I'm not typically with like legendary skins that have a signature attachment, they usually release an attachment, I guess, the same day that they release the legendary skin. I guess, just to keep it so that it's not pay to win or anything. But if that's going to be the case, well, yeah, the ASM-10 Legendary is going to be pay to win for about, I guess, a week. But anyways, it's going to come out when it decides to come out. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait. But the moment it does, it's going to be pretty... It's something that we're going to have to watch out for. And I've tested the BRANSON barrel, a couple of times in the practice lobby just to see what kind of class setup that I would use once it releases. And I will say, I mean, yeah, it is a pretty overpowered attachment, especially with a weapon with this type of damage. And for all the times that I complained that this weapon just did not have enough range, I'm actually kind of glad that they never buffed the range. Also, then again, with the BRANSON barrel, that's probably the reason as to why they never buffed the range, because this was like planned maybe months ahead. But I always knew deep down that at some point they were going to make the ASM-10 into the AN-94 fully. It was just a matter of when, because the signature attachments have become a thing, as of recently, with the GRU combo grip or the Thunderbolt sling, and what's the other one? I believe it's the cooling compressor barrel for the RPD. Yeah, I was assuming that at some point, if the ASM-10 ever got a signature attachment, it'll be the Hyperburst. Me personally, I always kind of like look to the future with COD Mobile. I think about different outcomes of how the game could turn out to be. Sometimes when I'm just making a video, or even if I'm just playing and I'm using a certain weapon, I would think about like, well, what kind of signature attachment would this weapon have? I thought that specifically with the M4 as of recently, since I've been using it a lot, how would the game be if it had the SOCOM rounds, the ones that like made the gun really powerful, or how would the game be if it had the SMG rounds? I always had these questions in my head to see like, shit, what are possible outcomes for the future of this game, especially when it comes to weapons and attachments. But when it came to the ASM-10, every single time I always knew that this was going to eventually be a reality. But if anything, this is a very scary reality because, with the BRANSON barrel and with the high damage of this weapon, you could 3-shot from a pretty decent range, up to like medium. And, the fact that the Hyperburst doesn't really lower the damage of the gun, at least when it comes to at least one of those bullets that comes out of that 2 burst. Yeah, this thing's gonna be absolutely deadly. And look, don't get me wrong, I mean, the ASM-10, even as it is right now, is a very, very solid weapon. And for a 3-shot assault rifle that has no recoil anymore, this is actually probably the fastest 3-shot weapon I could find in terms of speed. Either that or the Man of War or Odin, but like for me, when I, rush with a 3-shot weapon, I typically choose the ASM-10. But having something this lethal is going to just change the game, especially for the ASM-10, because, I mean, it was meta at one point, I believe, in Season 13, and maybe a little bit later, but I think the ASM-10 got nerfed really early on. It wasn't, how it is now, where overpowered weapons get nerfed like 6 months later. Like this one got nerfed pretty quickly, so it didn't really have too much of a time to shine. But in all reality, during the Season 9 update, the ASM-10 was never really changed. It was meta that whole time, but no one really realized it because there were just other weapons in ranked that just rolled the game. But, you know, at some point COD Mobile started eliminating some options, and eventually the ASM-10, well, people came across the weapon, and that's how it really became meta. But the funny reality is that it never changed during that entire time. The same could be said about the snipers. I mean, they were always extremely fast during the times when they were still very, very powerful, but no one really used it because, I mean, there were other options. And even when I grinded for them, I was actually surprised that no one was even using these things. And the same thing could be said about the KSP. Like, I noticed right from the jump, it was already overpowered. But it took everyone an entire season to figure that out. And I know it has a shadow buff, but even then, like with a slightly slower fire rate, it was still extremely deadly. That's why I didn't use it, because it felt like a crime against humanity. But I guess that's just how the game works. I mean, people just stay stuck to the current meta and just are too blind to see that there are other gems like right in front of them. This happened a lot with the AMAX, because you guys remember how much I used to love that assault rifle. And, you know, it was getting buffed over and over again. I was enjoying it, but no one else noticed that it was even good until like recently. I'm just like, wow, I mean, like what's new? I mean, like, is this really news? I guess that's like the typical mindset for like anyone, I guess, in the ranked scene, because, you know, people start switching to weapons that are, you know, just more convenient to them. And I feel like the ASM-10, especially with the BRANSON barrel, is not really going to have any sort of exemption, because there's no downside to it, and it's relatively, it's not really strict at all, because like the ADS time that gets slowed down is like by 8% compared to like a marksman barrel. Yeah, it's going to be pretty deadly. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens, of course. I'm not going to buy the legendary, but I am going to grind for the attachment skin if it's not a fucking bitch to unlock. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.